Hello, my name is Jerry Cabazzuto, and this is godislovetruthlife.com or godislovetruthfreedom.com because a life without freedom is not a life worth living. And today I have an amazing guest, Amy Hanley, who I met online through our shared uh, child custody concerns with Judge Helinger in Pinellas County. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you.
Please tell our audience about, yourself and what's going on with your case.
All right. Amy Hanley, and I'm 44 years old. I have two minor daughters um, that are involved in a custody case. Now it's a dependency case. It started out, we were going through a divorce, and I had an injunction against him because he'd been violent towards me, just once physically violent. He was mostly mentally violent. So I left him. I had full custody of the children and had an injunction. He had supervised visits. He had to come all the way up 3 hours north to visit the girls at my parents' house. And this whole time in the beginning, Hellinger was very much on my side, so much so that it made me uncomfortable. That it made me feel bad for him, it made me feel guilty that he wasn't allowed visits, because it didn't seem he wasn't like this towards the girls. He was more like this towards me. Maybe I was a problem. And that's kind of how I started to think about it. Then he remarried, and we were co-parenting swimmingly, and everything's great. And Hellinger was being a little bit nicer to him, so that was good. He bought a house with his wife, and they work from home. And he said, the girls would be better off in St. Pete. And it took me a long time to get used to the idea, but I thought that maybe they would be better off, because I don't want to be up here either. It's a small town. We don't even have a traffic light. And I thought the educational opportunities, and so I let them go. And it was within a year he was arrested for violence on his new wife in 2020. So I signed the supplemental agreement to allow him majority timeshare in 2019, February of 2019. He was arrested in 2020, and then I found out that he was also arrested in 2019, January of 2019, but I didn't know, because stepmom lied and said that she was their mother to DCF and to the police. Probably under his manipulation, his spell, whatever it was. I wasn't too mad at her because he manipulated me too. Anyways, if I'd have known about that 2019 arrest, though, in January, I would not have signed those papers in February. And in reflection, looking back, I think that the judge was manipulating me when he was so mean to him and making me feel bad on purpose. And so he got this, when everything changed, when he got this attorney, Orsini, who incidentally went to Stetson Law as well as Hellinger. So I feel like they were buddy. And the new wife told me that he had disclosed to her that, we don't have nothing to worry about, because Orsini, this lawyer of mine, he's cycling buddies with the judge. He's in real good. So we got this. So it's been ever since he got Orsini that everything, I can do no right and he can do no wrong. He's been arrested now altogether, between me and his new wife, arrested 3 times for violent acts in front of the children, all of them. And he violated her injunction against him as well. So with this injunction, he had to leave the marital home with the kids and move back to St. Pete with the kids. They were in Sarasota together. And then moved back to St. Pete with the kids, and things just went downhill fast for my kids since then. And I've been fighting since he was arrested in December. He was arrested in November. Since December of 2020, I've been fighting for custody of them and warning DCF and warning the courts that, hey, he's not feeding them dinner. He's not making sure they brush their hair. They come to me with matted hair, cry about going back to her dad's. And I tried to keep them a few times, but they kept threatening to arrest me. So I kept sending them back until Liv was hospitalized in September of last year. DCF still didn't take action. The court still didn't see that they needed to be removed, but leading up to the hospitalization, we have diagnosis of major depressive disorder and anxiety disorder in my eldest daughter. He's isolating her. So now she doesn't even know how to act in front of people. She seems like she's autistic. She's not, though. It's all trauma responses from watching. His ex-wife said that when he would have his violent rages, she would go catatonic. Everybody else
Ugh.
screaming like they should be crying and screaming. She would just go off somewhere else, like she wasn't even there. And so so that sucks. But she was hospitalized and nobody did anything. They left her with him, and then she came to me. They came to me, her and her sister, February for a visitation because I had him every 2 weeks, and she'd lost weight. And I said, you know what? Are we allowed to swear on this thing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's
This was a swearing
yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck this. I don't care if I go to jail because my kids matter too much. And this decision of mine had a lot of angles to it because not only did I need to protect my children, that was the biggest angle, but I'm also taking a stand in front of them, and they can see that mom really cares because she doesn't care every time she sends us back is how I pictured they thought. And also I wanted them to grow up to be able to take a stand for what they believed in also. So like if their child was being harmed, they should be able to stand up for their child too. Maybe if I'm doing that. So anyways, I did it. And they did issue a warrant for my arrest in Gilchrist County, here where I live. And they did take my children back to their abuser, um, and ignored allegations of abuse. As mandated reporters, these cops just came in, and then at the end of the body cam footage, they're just joking around like it's just another day for them. You can see that Aaliyah is very upset. She doesn't want to go back. She's crying, and she's refusing to leave my mother's car. And they force her away, and they force her back to her dad's house. My mom said that when I saw the cops, she didn't say anything. She just sat there, and my mom saw a single tear run down her cheek. She had to go back to her dad's. And as a mother hearing that, it's just, it killed me inside a lot. So then I was arrested. I spent, the first time I spent 30 days in jail. My bond was $100,000. So to get me out, my parents paid $10,000 because those whole 30 days, nobody could reach my kids. And the last I heard, they told me she was 79 pounds before I went to jail.
Ugh.
And he was supposed to take her to the emergency room. She lost any weight, and she was 89 pounds when they discharged her in September of last year. So she lost significant amount of weight. So I had a well-being check done after I got out of jail. And the police went a lot of times they wouldn't even go because I had so many well-being checks. He would keep their phones from them so they couldn't call me and keep in touch. So I had a well-being check done, and this time he didn't let them inside the home, and they saw through the window rats and roaches. So they went back to the station. They told Sergeant started a child neglect investigation, and that is when DCF was like, "Oh shit, we have to do something."
Right.
So they took them away. They took them out of their father's home and placed them with my parents. And the reason why they placed them with my parents is because I was incarcerated again for failure to appear in my felony case of interfering with custody. I failed to appear because I had a family law case or family law hearing coming up that I wanted to be a part of. That was going to be June 17th, I think, was my hearing. I was arrested on June 15th, so I failed to appear to make it to that custody hearing. Still didn't make it anyway because I was, and that time I spent 60 days inside, so 90 days altogether for interfering with custody. And but they've dropped the charges since finally, because I'm kind of justified now. But now DCF has false allegations against me, and I'm not allowed to have my children at home unsupervised because they're saying I abandoned and neglected my children.
Due to
Their lack of oversight. Now I'm the bad guy, and I have to do a
right.
home study. They wanted me to do a case plan, and I said no because I know people have done that case plan several times over and still never got their kids. I'm not going to be a victim of that.
Right.
Taking it to trial because let them prove. I don't think they can. And now my ex-husband's got false allegations against me now too, and they're crazy, terrible things that he's saying about me. Then he can't prove them. But in dependency court, it's different than criminal court. You don't need even a preponderance of evidence. You just need it to sound good, and then it's fact.
Wow.
far as DCF goes, they can say whatever they want to say. They don't have to prove it.
And could you tell our audience, because I haven't interacted with dependency court, like what's the difference between like family law, dependency court? Like what does that entail?
Well, there's that. There's the you don't have to prove anything stuff. You're not up against a civilian. You're up against the government.
Right.
DCF's a powerful entity, as we all know. And my court appointed attorney, again, and I think it's the same in criminal court as it is with dependency court as far as an appointed attorney. They're being paid by the state. That's the long and short of it. If they're being paid by the state, of course they're going to collude with the state. So I don't think he's got my best interest at heart. He wanted me to take that case plan desperately. And part of me says he's on the side of DCF, but then also part of me says I don't know how they get paid, but he probably does not get paid any more for it going to trial than it does for him to just open and shut that. They want their cases open and shut. DCF does, so he's going to do whatever they want. And I think he wants my case open and shut. He doesn't care about my kids any more than anybody else has along these past 6 years. Dependency or it's and also, so you're up against the state attorney. You're not up against somebody else's just plain old attorney. The state attorney represents DCF. So I feel like that's a lot more intimidating and kind of and scary, very scary. And so if I don't take this case plan, which I didn't, and I take it to trial, I face a lot of uncertainty. The judge could take away my visits completely if I'm found guilty of whatever DCF is accusing me of. He could order the same case plan, and I could have to do it anyway if I want my kids back. So as far as it being different, that's the only thing I've noticed so far. Those things.
So we are recording this on November 14th. When is your next hearing? What's the status with your representation? Yeah, update our audience on the status of your case currently.
Well, I had one attorney at first, and she wasn't keeping in touch with me, and I really didn't like her. It's hard to relinquish control when you've been pro se for 6 years, and she had all the files and everything, and she wasn't sharing them with me, and I was like, I have to see, I have to make sure we're making the right decisions. So I got rid of her, and I have this new appointed attorney, which I feel is keeping in touch just as terribly. He's not answering any of my questions, but the status is I go to trial December 2nd, and we were trying to get the home study done. Even DCF was like, well, let's get the home study done so we can move this along for the children. So in their defense, they are doing that for us. But the Gilchrist County DCF was not okay with that. They wanted the judge's order to do the home study. My ex-husband objected, so we had to get past that. And the judge says, no, I'm going to go ahead and order the home study. So that's good. That's working in our favor. But the trial is December 2nd. And I would really like to have an attorney of my own for that. I don't think it's going to be possible. And I'm being realistic, but that's December 2nd. And I don't know. I guess the judge, like I said, he could order me to do a case plan, or he could say, this is the scariest part. So we risk the chance of me being found not guilty and my ex being found not guilty. And if that happens, it bounces back to custody court, to Helinger.
Judge Helinger, who we both haven't had nasty experiences with. Yeah. Oh man. And we are going to include in this episode description links to Amy's Facebook. So if you want to get in touch with her, as well as her Cash App. So if you have a few extra funds that you would like to donate to Amy's legal defense fund, that is one way to help her. What about, you and I have talked a little bit offline about AI and its role in supporting pro se representation. What has your experience been in the age of AI with these sorts of legal custody matters?
It's been hugely helpful. People diss AI all the time, and I'm trying to see both sides of it, but my side, I would not be able to come up. I wouldn't be able to word these motions in the legal language that like I do without AI, or know the right procedural steps to take, or yeah, I feel like it didn't matter in Hellinger's court what I did or how I did it or how great AI was, but I did feel a whole lot more confident. And you got that you helped me get that pro, the Perplexity Pro, and she's amazing. I think maybe that's why I call Perplexity a female and ChatGPT because Perplexity is even better.
Yeah, even the pro version of ChatGPT, I feel like is not as good.
They
Like
both have,
it's so censored.
yeah. Oh yeah, ChatGPT is very censored for sure. Does
Yeah.
it? Um, yeah.
Have you tried, I think I may have talked to you offline about it, but have you looked into Notebook LM as well?
No, no, you mentioned it, and I did kind of sort of look it up, but I haven't really done an in-depth. How do you feel about it?
I highly recommend it. You can feed it all the motions in your case, and it will analyze and give you a legal strategy citing case law.
Wow.
So you can, and there's a source limit of 300 per notebook, but you can also command it to review your notebooks under your account. So like let's say you have 300 sources from, the first year or two, and then, second, third, and then you can have it analyze all your notebooks. There's a pro version of that as well. So again, if you're listening and if you want to help Amy, have access to these types of AI tools so that she can get her kids back, get custody of her kids, again, please, feel free to donate to her Cash App. Um, so yeah, highly recommend it. I kind of want to go back to talking about how the opposing counsel um, went to the same law school, Stetson Law, as Judge Hellinger. I found that same exact issue in my case where the dad's attorney, Garth Goodman, went to Stetson Law, as well as my former counsel, who I fired because she was not properly informing me of fraudulent subpoenas that Garth was filing, which basically proves they were all conspiring against me.
Yeah.
That's judicial immunity does not protect against criminal violations, and that was a criminal violation. Um, but anyway, so yeah, I feel like these, and I talked to you offline as well about the Canarcaris Inn of Court, how it's a family law based social club where, lawyers can have illegal ex parte conversations with judges about decisions. Um, have you seen any evidence of illegal ex parte conversations in your case? Yeah, tell us more about that.
Oh, absolutely. I always had a I don't know if it was just a gut feeling or what I was thinking, but there has been, I can almost prove it, but not. There's a preponderance of evidence that there's one time I said, Mitchell, the judge's assistant, I said, we have to have this hearing. Like, when are we going to schedule this hearing? Can we get it? Because it's an emergency. My children's lives are in danger. Like the last time I heard from my daughter, she was 79 pounds. We have to have this hearing. And she said, we're just waiting to hear back from Mr. Hanley about whether or not this date is going to work. And I said, what? What? Nobody's ever conferred with me about if a date was okay, or so this means that you're waiting to hear back from him, because I'm not aware of any correspondences happening between you and my ex-husband or Hellinger. She didn't say we, she said Hellinger is waiting to hear back from Mr. Hanley. And I was like, ding, That's ex parte communication.
That sure is. Have you looked into opening an appeals case against Hellinger or the judge in your dependency case?
I have. I did. I tried to do an appeals with Hellinger with the is it the it's the second DCA, right? Yeah.
Second District Court of Appeals. Yep.
Right. Yeah. It felt like, and I can't prove it, but it felt like they were on his side. They were on the side of Hellinger. They were not impartial. They were not taking everything that I had to say and making an impartial decision. And that was right around the time that I went to jail. And so I wasn't able to submit all of the things that I needed. Being pro se, that was really difficult because I didn't know what to do. And they did kind of guide me a little bit in the beginning. They gave me some, oh, you did this way, but it's supposed to be this way. So a little bit, I felt like they were helpful, and I was very surprised. But then it got impossible, and then I went to jail, and they were like denied.
Yeah, I highly recommend again to our viewers, if you're a pro se litigant trying to appeal at the state level for judicial corruption, these filings cost 300 regardless of income status. You have to pay these filing fees. So again, please consider donating to Amy's Cash App so that we can support her in appealing. Because if you have uh, written evidence of illegal ex parte conversations and you present that to an appeals judge at the state level, at the end of the day, what I find is y- if you have written evidence of things, they can't deny it. It's like the highest form of evidence. You know what I mean?
So do you think that getting that email from her that says we're waiting here, where Hellinger's waiting to hear back from Mr. Hanley, that's evidence? Do you think?
I think so. And just the fact that, you heard that, they're biking buddies, like that they're not supposed to be biking buddies. Like he should have recused himself.
Yeah,
Like,
I've been 3 times, but 3 times.
yeah. Interestingly enough, for those that are not aware, the Second District Court of Appeals in the state of Florida is located at guess what university?
That's it.
Stetson Law. Yep. For now, as of December 1st, they're going to be moving to a different building. But the point of the matter is this level of judicial corruption. Now, one can't prove, okay, the fact that the second DCA is located on Stetson Law's campus, but the fact of the matter is the judge went to Stetson, the second District Court of Appeals is located at Stetson, all the council that we've been involved in have gone to Stetson. I mean, clearly they're not teaching right and wrong at that university.
No, but my attorney went to Stetson also, like yours did, and he was verbally abusive towards me.
Yeah, that's horrible. And if you have evidence of that, one thing that I've been doing, I've been labeled a vexatious litigant, but there was no, like hearing. Like Hellinger just labeled me as that, and that's illegal. You can't do that.
Are you
And go ahead.
are you appealing that?
Oh yeah, because the more uh emotional we can get these people to be, the more mistakes they make. So
Mm-hmm.
he actually literally, I got him so emotional, he blurted that he had an illegal ex parte conversation with my attorney in an order. It was in the order. I'm like, this is gold. And that's the other thing is like realizing that like we also as pro se litigants, they're putting us as parents and this, even though we're both mothers, this can go other ways too. I'm sure there's dads going through this too. This is
Oh,
just
there are.
Yeah. So, but basically, they'll put us into these sort of ultimatum situations where, okay, you can either take this and, see your kids supervised visits, or, we're going to take this away from you. And it's like, and they do that, and they get us in this emotional state. And then, we start making mistakes legally, quote unquote. But if we can turn that around and get them to be emotional, like that is, I think, a way of like psychologically winning, you know what I mean?
The scamming the scammer, basically.
Exactly. Because that's all that it is. It's like law, I feel like, is just, it's just how it's a psychological game. It's like how, like, getting people to see your perspective through words.
Yeah, it's a language. I really do think that when a lawyer passes the bar, there it's because they learned the language. They learned how to speak legal, and if you're a layman and you don't know what the hell you're doing, you're a Chihuahua in a bulldog match.
Well, so yeah, so what I was going to suggest, and again, to our viewers, feel free to donate to Amy, because if you have evidence of a verbally abusive attorney that formerly represented you, you can file a civil claim against that attorney for legal malpractice, because they're
Yeah,
not supposed to do that.
I don't have any evidence. It was all
Okay.
on the phone, but he told me, and this was verbal again. I wish I would have recorded it. He said at one point, he said, what he's doing to you is illegal. I didn't know at the time, but he was restricting my timeshare. He was making me stay in Pinellas County, supervised by my mother, because I had secreted the children previously, and that's when I got them back as a jail time. Um, so he did that to me, and I didn't know that they're not supposed to take punitive measures against your timeshare. That's illegal. But he said what he's doing to you is illegal, and I said, what? Well, then let's recuse him. Well, then we have a right and a reason to, let's do it. And I said, you're funny, you're so cute, because that goes through him. If you want to recuse him, he makes that decision. You file the motion, it goes to that judge, and he makes that decision. And I was flabbergasted. What do you mean? But he's biased. We're doing this because he's biased. And this is before I knew that my lawyer was not on my side. He just basically laughed at me and said, you're not going to get anywhere. So once he was gone, I ran out of money for him. So he was gone. I tried to recuse Helinger, and a total of 3 times, and all 3 times I was denied. And I had good claims. I had good grounds and all factual, and I could back everything up. Also, I found out recently, if you're pro se, you should be in front of a magistrate if both parties are pro se. Did you know that?
Whoa. Well, the other party in my case is not pro se, but that's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't know until I guess about a year ago. I was on the phone with somebody from the clerk of court, and they said, "Oh, you're in front of a judge. That's weird because you're both pro se." I said, "That's weird. How's that weird?" Well, she said, generally, usually, and it's not like a law. I guess it's not mandated, but most people would be in front of a magistrate. And I said, well, I motioned for a magistrate, and I just keep, it's like getting ignored. Nobody's paying attention. And I'm taking all the steps, like, is there are steps you have to take to go in front of a magistrate. And you both have to agree, apparently. But I was just being ignored. Nobody was having hearings about my motions. And she said, well, it looks like Hellinger wants to keep this case for whatever reason. But I said, well, I'll tell you why. Because he's violated rights and statutes and laws and human rights, even. That's why he wants to keep it, because he doesn't want anybody else to see it. And she said, oh, well, what's she going to say to that? Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, I remember my very first hearing in person with Hellinger. He literally said in court, "I am the civil court. I am the law." And I was like, he's not supposed to say that. He's supposed to uphold the laws, but he really does just make shit up.
Yeah.
And he even told me, because there was a domestic violence incident, child abuse, between my older son and my mother-in-law, and I brought it up. And I said, it's illegal for a caregiver to even do corporal punishment, which it wasn't. It was child abuse because it was a month-long bruise on his back. Um, he said, "Oh, it's not illegal." And I was like, looking it up later, it's totally illegal. There's totally a Florida statute where caregivers aren't allowed to use corporal punishment. Like, and even if the dad retroactively decides, okay, I'm for corporal punishment now while I maintain, like, you can't retroactively, like, cover up the fact that at that time of the incident, we were both in agreement that corporal punishment's not okay. Um, and so for her to do that, it was illegal. But Hellinger just flatly denies actual laws.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. He didn't enforce the court ordered BIP courses he was supposed to take and the anger management courses. So so he you told me, what did you tell me to do to document what in the orders when they were.
Yeah, so I would run any orders that you have through AI and just literally ask it um what Florida statutes, federal statutes, and relevant case law are violated in this order, and
Okay.
do that for every order. And I would also use different AI models. So I wouldn't just depend on Perplexity or ChatGPT or Notebook LM. Use them all. Compare, contrast, feed one AI's version into another AI's version, and kind of cross reference, because sometimes AIs can be wrong. And this sort of segues into a sort of business idea that I've had, which is, unfortunate that it had to come through the suffering of my children. But I've sort of learned how to be an AI prompt engineer for pro se litigation through this experience, of just going through, okay, here's all these motions coming in. Let me process these. Let me output, a good, response to these motions. And I'm just basically, I feel like the I even briefly considered, like, oh, maybe I should go to law school to learn this. There's no point in going to law school anymore. Like someday, there's like AI, I got the opposing counsel, Garth Goodman, in my case, who I sent multiple recusal and sanctions motions against for subpoena fraud for not one, not two, but three witnesses. He literally just didn't file the subpoenas properly in the docket. He just made them up, printed them from his office, and served them as if they were real subpoenas.
Wow.
Like, insane. And
Mm-hmm.
thought he could get away with it. In one of them, for one of the witnesses, he put a different case caption on, and it wasn't even in that docket either. And I'm
They
like,
they do get away with it, that, and they're expecting you not to pay any attention because probably other people have not paid attention. It's right over their head, but
right.
you're like, no, these are my kids. Where I'm looking at every detail, every little detail.
Yeah, so the dad's attorney during one of our hearings was like, I've been working for 32 years. You win. I'm too old for this. And he tried to withdraw, and Hellinger refused his withdrawal, as well
Well,
as my motions to recuse and sanction the attorney. Yeah, but the point that I'm making is, like, this is how powerful AI can be for pro se litigants, where we can get attorneys who have been doing the same thing they've always been doing, screwing families over. We can we can empower ourselves to actually get those attorneys sweating and
yeah,
craving to leave. And like, and that's another strategy which I recommend, not just to you but anyone listening. You want to break up the mob. They're all together, right? You want them each in a state of self-preservation, and
mm-hmm.
then they're going to start turning on each other and start resenting each other for being caught. you know and that's so file a sanctions motion against, just the attorney. File a sanctions motion against just the client. File a sanctions motion against just the judge, and just like, kind of like. And that's another way where we can psychologically win, because that's really what it's about. It's like, how much can this mom or dad take? And it's like, seeing that, like, we're not just going to bow down to their legal bullying, to their financial bullying, to their taking our kids away. Like, if they see how powerful and strong we don't give a shit about their fucking sorcery with their fucking spells they cast and their fucking stupid motions that at first I was like intimidated. I'm like, I've never done law. Like, how can I go against all these people? And then I thought, they're stupid. They're all dumb. They're like low IQ. Like they're making stupid mistakes, and they're all illegal, and it's all written out. Like,
Hmm.
this is not rocket science. Like, to be a lawyer or to be a judge, you don't have to have high IQ. You really don't. Like, these people are nothing. Like, just continue to gather evidence and get the upper level people to see that the lower level people are fucking shit up.
Yeah.
I highly recommend you go the appeals route. And again,
Okay.
I highly recommend for those listening, to donate to Amy's Cash App, because, like, I mean, I happen to have a savings that I'm currently living off of that's quickly dwindling. But this is an example of how, I would, help pro se litigants through consultation, because it's not just a matter of winning in the court. You have to create an asymmetrical warfare strategy. And that's literally what AI's taught me. Like,
Yeah.
I asked it for a legal strategy. Like, how do I handle this?
And
How do I break up this mob of people going after me and my kids? And it's like, okay, well, you could do this, you could do that. What? And I was like, well, what if I file a civil suit against this person and that person? Oh, well, that's a great idea. You could do this, this, and this. Like, it'll literally tell you like how to do it and what to do.
yeah. Yeah, it's been a huge tool for me. I haven't gotten that far. I think that you're way more in depth with AI than I am. But I was told that strategy actually once before. I had an interview with a women's coalition of something, I can't remember what they were called, and I wish I could have enlisted their help. But they had the team of attorneys that they would help you for a fraction of what a private attorney would cost. They just wanted $500 to start, and it was pay as you go. So you'd spend that $500, which I didn't have at the time, so I couldn't do it. But and then they would get the case together, and they said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go after dad, and we're gonna go after his pocketbook, because that's where it's gonna hurt him the most. So we're gonna say, okay, we have this is because you're saying you have all this evidence, and yep. So we're going to go after this part and that part and that part, and we're going to say, listen, we could get you right now for $75,000, $150,000, whatever, or you just give her back her kids, and we're
Right.
an ultimatum. So, and then they said, and then we can go after the judge, and then we can go after that person. But right now, but they did basically said that we need to thin out the herd, because right now you're being attacked from all angles, even your own attorney, and that's not cool. So we're just gonna we're one by one, we're gonna pick them off, and we're gonna start with your ex-husband because he's the
Yeah.
abuser. Um, yeah, that's a strategy.
Well,
It really
and
works.
also, like, just seeing the way they see things, like, they see us all as open wallets. Like, we're not
Hmm.
even people, and they're gonna side with whoever's got the bigger wallet, right? Because it's
Yeah,
all a kickback scheme between DCF, the police, and the judges and the attorneys with their Canarkarison and Stetson Law alumni events, and it's just all like a big, you know, Southern gentlemen's club, basically. I mean, of course there's female attorneys involved with this as well, but like it's just like like the old boys club. Like, this is how we've done it all these years, and it's like, and I don't want to make it about gender, because again, like, there are dads going through this as well. I'm sure there's female attorneys that are just as evil as it's just been my experience. There's a certain level of, you know yeah, like, there tends to be a gender, angle to, generally women tend to make less than men. And so because of that, we see these types of, I don't know, what do you think of that?
I absolutely agree. It's not because we're women. It's not because they're men. It's because we tend to make less money, and they're after the person with money. And you said to me once before, and I really had a chance to think about it, that they'll take a couple that's just divorcing, that know, amicably, and everything's fine, and they'll pit them against each other. There are little things here, little things there, until they're feuding and they hate each other and they want to, and then they get the kids involved, of course, because they're always going to get involved. And that's how they started. Now they didn't have to do that with me and my ex-husband, because we already, he's very mentally abusive and he's very convincing and conniving, and I want to say he's even evil. So they didn't have to do that too badly with us, but I'd seen it happen with other couples. Like they just fine until they get into custody court. So my advice to any listener is, if you can divorce your spouse or separate, whatever, do it on your own. Don't go through the courts, because they're
Right.
like, once you get them involved and DCF involved, they will not leave, and they'll whittle you down, whether you're the one with the money or not. If you're the one with the money, it goes a little bit easier for you, but both of you, everybody loses.
Everybody loses. Yeah. I would have loved to have done mediation. I got served with a petition from my ex, who was jealous at the time that I had moved on in a relationship with someone else. And he made his entire case about that. And I'm not even with that person anymore. I just happened to live in a cheaper area of Florida. Like, it had nothing to do with like whether or not I was in a relationship, like I just think people like at the like you said, at the end of the day, it's like if you can find a way to um sort of release each other amicably. But if you can't, if the other person's em- emotionally unhealed and is projecting all their, mother rage or parental rage from their abandonment and their childhood onto you, then like what can you do? You have to fight in the beast system, which I didn't want to do. I still don't want to be in it, but it's like just give us our kids back and we won't go after you. Like, we'll be peaceful. Just give us our fucking kids back. Like, that's what it's about for me. Like, I'm not here to start trouble. Don't fucking take my kids away from me, or I'm gonna fucking make your life hell. All of you. Like, that's how I feel. Like,
Yeah,
you know?
pretty much. And it's like they make you crazy, and then they fucking call you crazy. It's one of
Oh
those.
yeah.
Hate that. I hate that so much, because I was very submissive in court. I was very submissive. In fact, I would shake every hearing. I'd be like so nervous, because that's another thing that Hellinger did, was he would have our hearings, our injunction hearings, in his chambers, which it's not the,
Chambers.
yeah, in his chambers. It's not the law that they have to have it in a courtroom and not their chambers, but it's just recommended to the judges, because it's intimidating
Creepy.
the victim. It's intimidating. Yeah, and he's right there, and I'm having to face my abuser every time we go to the hearings for injunctions. So yeah, and you know what else? He dissolved our injunction early. And he said that I orally motioned in the order of dissolution. He said that the petitioner orally motioned to dissolve the. So I said, I don't remember that. And it's been a while, but I really don't remember.
Wow.
I said, I want the transcript. All injunction hearings are supposed to be recorded, right? So I want the transcript. Nobody can find it, because it didn't happen.
Right. And let's talk about that, because we started talking right before we started recording. Family law courts in Florida are not recorded. They're not audio recorded. There's no court reporter. It's, in my experience, even trying to obtain a court reporter privately, they only work with attorneys with accounts with them. And you were telling me that they're really expensive as well. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, they wanted $1,000 down if I was going to have a court reporter. I started recording my hearings, and I told the judge that I would, because like I said, I started out submissive and I was very passive and yes, and intimidated. But then after 4 or 5 years of that, and it wasn't working, I said, well, I'm going to be aggressive and assertive, because fuck this, I'm going to stand up for myself. So he's making irrelevant points, and I keep saying, that's irrelevant. Wait, Your Honor, that's irrelevant. That has nothing to do. My food stamps has nothing to do with the well-being of my children. I was in the hospital at the time. So because she was in the hospital, that gave me my backbone, and I had enough. And at the end of the hearing, I said, you know what? Fuck this, and fuck you, And Matt, you're a piece of shit liar, and I'm gonna stand up for my kids. My kid's in the hospital right now. I can't believe we're here and we're talking about this right now. My food stamps, that has nothing to do with the well-being of my children. And the judge says, and this is the second time I've heard this in court. He said, well, before it was they're with the stepmom, so they're fine. But now he's like, oh, she's in the hospital, she's being taken care of. I said, yeah, but you're going to let her go out of the hospital back to her dad and she's not going to be fine. Are you really telling me this right now? That she's fine because she's in the hospital? Her dad put her in the hospital. Do something about it. He won't let me. And everything I bring up is remote, even though it's relevant. It's leading up to where we are now. He won't let me bring up the past. So I lost it. And I said, by the way.
Yeah. So, and then the Judicial Qualification Commission is the JQC for those that are not aware. I want to go back to this idea that, for there not being a court reporter available pretty much, either it's too expensive or just impossible to even book, because you need to be an attorney to book these people, I find. Judges can just basically make up what happened at a hearing.
Oh, and they do. And he's also allowed the opposing party's counsel to write up orders, which
Right.
have one-sided, of course, because he's the attorney of the other party. So that to me, I thought that was way out of line, way out of line. But I can prove in a couple of orders where he was honest, where he like contempt of court. I tried to file contempt of court because he didn't finish his BIP courses, and the judge says, well, you have filed this in your dissolution of marriage case, but this was ordered in the injunction case. And I said, no, it was ordered in both cases. I have an order right here that has both case numbers on it. It says you are ordered, Mr. Hanley's ordered 26 weeks BIP. And I said, no, it's both case numbers. And he said, it's adjourned. We're done for the day. Wait, I just proved to you that you should hold them in contempt of court. And I found out from somebody else, most guys go to jail for that, for not finishing their BIP. That's crazy. But he lied in the order, and I can prove it. So
And can you tell our audience what BIP stands for?
Batters Intervention Program.
Okay.
He was kicked out of that for being non-compliant.
Yeah. So these are things that require fundraising to document, to file. So again, for those listening, we really want to donate to Amy's cause, so that she can have custody of her children. Uh, any sort of closing thoughts or topics you want to cover before we end our recording here?
Well, another thing that I have learned is that you can't trust anybody. You can't trust anybody, even if they're a third party that have nothing to do with your case. You can't trust anything that anybody tells you, because I've been told over and over again. Now, I know that DCF and the judge are working together. I know they are. I can't prove it. I can't. It's not on paper, and I don't have recordings, but I know that they are, because DCF should have taken my kids away from my ex-husband a long time ago when Olivia was in the hospital. You think that any organization that gave a shit about children would look at that and look at my concerns that I've been raising over the course of 5 years, 4 years? They would take that child away, dude. That's their job. They've got one job. One
Right.
job. But they didn't. So I've been asking people, I've been asking different attorneys and different people from the clerk of courts, different even counties, and they all tell me that's not how it works. DCF is a completely separate organization than the judge. And I call bullshit. That's not true. And these people have nothing to do with my case, but they know this. They know their stuff. These people that I'm asking them because they have experience in child custody hearings and in the courts, and they're telling me that. So don't trust your gut. Mine's always been right.
Yeah. In my case, and then for those that aren't aware, DCF in Florida stands for Department of Children's and Families. Other states might refer to it as Child Protective Services. the DCF investigator in my case was the subpoena firstly was never filed. He was served days before the hearing. He showed up, even though I objected because the subpoena never existed or was ever filed, continuing my child custody case. But anyways, he testified and was like, "Oh yeah, we have an open investigation. We haven't found any abuse." And I'm like, I'm trying to subpoena this same investigator. All of a sudden, he's unavailable when I subpoena him because he says there's an open investigation. What's the status of that investigation? We've shown in my case medical neglect of a child with special needs with cardiac issues, with 2 canceled cardiac appointments that the dad just didn't show up to, and lied to medical professionals and law enforcement about, either lied or was grossly negligent about not knowing about. Either way, he's either incapable of remembering things or he's lying. Either way, he shouldn't be, making medical decisions for the children. But anyway, so yeah, DCF is definitely, an issue. I also wanted to mention in my looking for another attorney briefly after I fired my first one, Alexis Saab, from Emerson Law. Highly do not recommend that firm to anyone. Do not go to that firm. I called another firm and they were like, I was like, firstly, before we move forward, are any of the attorneys part of the Kanarker Sin? Do you know what the lawyer said to me? She said 90%, almost all the attorneys are part of this in.
Wow.
Like, you can't get an attorney that's not part of this Black Robe Society. Like, you
Yeah.
just, because they're all part of it. They're
Yeah.
and for the one, I found one that wasn't part of it, and he didn't want to be part of my case because he had issues with Hellinger.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I've heard that too.
and Hellinger, specifically, I'm being forced to go to supervised visitation to see my children 2 hours a week, even though I've never abused or neglected them, and even had my supervisors from that supervised center testify on my behalf that I'm a great mom and that, like, why are we doing this? Um, I've talked to folks at that center. I'm not going to name names, but Hellinger's got a reputation over there of sending moms specifically uh, over there
Yeah.
for supervised visits. And in my very first hearing on June 23rd, Hellinger mentioned he's a dad too. He's not supposed to say that. I'm not supposed to know that he's a dad. Like,
Oh,
that's,
the dad, I know that he's failed his marriage, he's failed his kids, and this man's managing my family. What?
I mean, Hellinger couldn't even remember the gender of my older son in one of the orders. He mistook my younger son's Down syndrome for autism. Like, he can't even like get basic, information correct about my children. Like,
He
how
doesn't
can he?
he doesn't have to. He doesn't care to because he doesn't have to.
Right. It's like, it's so ridiculous that, like, you know, my ex, in thinking that he was going to come somehow get back at me, decided to have some old man who can barely tell the difference between children and what's going on with them to make decisions on our family. Like, some random old guy. Like, why are we doing this? Like, this is a complete farce of justice. Like,
Right.
just because
But
he can't handle the fact that I moved on.
that's the thing with my ex. There's a coercive control. It's textbook. It's standard what he's doing to me, what he's been doing to me. But I'll leave you with this. He's not a citizen. And if he's convicted of medical neglect on a minor, he's gone.
Oh,
Hopefully.
wow. Well, there you go. That could be.
I hope so.
And like, of course, like, on a sort of broader scale, we all want the parents to both be involved, but if one of the parents is mentally ill and
Hmm.
is using a system that's mentally ill to
Not good.
further create intergenerational mental illness, like, we have to be the intergenerational curse breakers in our family. And
Yeah.
it starts with these family law cases.
Yeah. We have to protect our kids. No matter what, we got to protect our kids. And if the court's not going to help us and is going to get in our way, God help them. I'm not stopping.
Any last words, Amy, that you'd like to share with our audience?
If you're caught up in this, I am so sorry, because it's a force to be reckoned with, and just don't quit. Just don't quit. Think about your kids every single moment, because you're gonna want to give up lots of times. You're gonna not want to get out of bed lots of times, but you got to, because fuck these guys, all of them. That's my closing thought.
I love that. And I'm going to also you and I are going to be meeting with some other parents online. Are we allowed to talk about that or invite people to that?
Sure, yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Maybe I'll post this tonight then. Instead of Monday morning so that people. Okay. So yeah, you want to tell people about tomorrow's meeting?
I did. Well, did I know about tomorrow's meeting? I didn't know about tomorrow's meeting.
Oh, is that the mom Zoom thing?
Is that? Oh, that one, that thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. We can. Yeah, I think so. I think that's okay. I think they invite anybody who wants to go. It's like the more the merrier kind of thing.
And it's basically like a support group for moms that are kind of going through these sort of family law, child custody.
It's SOS, and it's SOS Save Our Sisters. And if I am not mistaken, like, so I had a friend named Renee way back in the day who gave her child up. Or she lost her child to adoption. She was lied to, and I mean, the same thing happened to me. This is crazy that I'm dealing with this with my kids, because when I was 15, I had a child. I was raped, and I still gave birth to a child, and that's how I lost my virginity. But I gave her up for adoption, lost her to adoption, because I was lied to and coerced, and they took my baby out of my life completely, and they weren't supposed to. So the same thing happened to her, and that's how we met. And she started a group called Saving Our Sisters, or Save Our Sisters. I'm pretty sure that this is her group, and it's grown to like, it's blossomed into all these women that are like there for each other, and just, it's magical. It's really cool. And now it includes women in our situations now with the custody thing. So yeah, Save Our Sisters. I'm not sure exactly what happens in the meetings, or how. I've never been to one. I always forget, so you have to remind me, please.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I think, if you're in Florida or wherever you are, check out, go through AI and ask it, well, what kind of local support groups are there for, divorcing families that I can tap into? Because I think networking is so important to just remind ourselves. And that's what I do, whenever I feel kind of this feeling of despair. I'm like, firstly, like, the, it's horrible that I have to say this, but it's not like, they're in a group home getting sexually abused routinely, or whatever. And 90% or something crazy of kids in group homes get sexually abused, and physically abused. So, at least it's not that. But just reminding myself that, like, I'm not the only one going through this, that there's other families, other parents. I don't want to just say moms, because I think there's dads going through this too. And just reminding, it could be worse, and B, you're not alone.
Yeah, you're not alone, because you feel so alone. I do a lot. I live alone anyway, so I feel alone a lot. But when I met you, I was like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, another one. It's been so many years, and so thank you for reaching out, dude. Seriously, I needed that. Yeah. So
Oh,
network, everybody.
yes. All right. Thank you so much, Amy, and thanks for listening, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.
Hi, thank you.